It's the most wonderful time of the year, but not because of Christmas, because we are back with DNN Summit. Hello, hello. My name is Ederson Oliveira, and this is the first DNN Summit 2019 talk. It's great to be back, and that's the third year that I have been doing this, and I really like, and I'm really busy, but I said, you know what? I cannot walk away from that, so I have to keep doing because I enjoy, and unfortunately, that will be the contribution that I have for this year for the DNN Summit because I will not be there. But it's not about me. This is about you guys. Great to have Ryan and Chris here. Between the two of them, we have 8 sessions, so there's a lot to talk about here. But I'm gonna get started with Ryan. Ryan is one of the organizers of DNN Summit. So Ryan, if I may ask you just to do a quick intro about yourself and dive into the event, give us an overview about the event, please go for it.
Absolutely, glad to do so. Again, I'm Ryan Moore. My company is the More Creative Company. We are proud to sponsor and be involved with DNN Summit here in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. We're some of the co-chairs that help sponsor and put on the Southern Fried DNN user group. And so monthly, we're pitching into and supporting and helping promote DNN and the DNN community. And for us, DNN Summit is an obvious extension of that. Myself, just as someone who's joining and participating in the summit, every time I attend a DNN user conference, I get new connections, I get new networking, I get new clients out of it. So it's always a benefit for us to both participate and give back to the community through things like DNN Summit. Here we've reached December, and we're all very excited about things that are going on. So from an organization standpoint of what's going on with DNN Summit, be sure to check out the website. A lot of new posts are happening, if not daily, certainly every other day on the blog and on social media to promote the speakers and the sessions that we have, because those were really announced within the last week and a half, 2 weeks. And, we have a lot of sessions here between Chris and myself, and there are several people who have multiple sessions, but we have a lot of new speakers and a lot of new sessions. That selection process always is something that Mitch Sellers and the board go through to decide and kind of get a good balance of session topics. And this year we have new speakers. We have some new topic types. We also have a good spread between marketing and just business related topics, as well as server and security related topics. And then of course, the core of DNN related topics. So it's going to be a really good mix. And here over these next several videos, I'm hoping that people are really going to get a good slice of the speakers and the sessions that are ahead. Some important things to mention about Summit is that registration is obviously open, but more importantly, here we're at December the 6th, and December the 15th is when the early bird registration ends. So registration prices jump up by a little bit more than $100 per ticket after that point. So it's very important. It helps us out for planning and organization. Everybody who registers early, it benefits you, it benefits us. Number 2, rooms are starting to get booked up in the hotel. And if you haven't booked rooms yet, I've heard people already starting to say that rooms of certain sizes are already out. So if you haven't book your room. Plane tickets, they keep going up every day. So booking those early benefits you, of course. We have some announcements that are coming up soon as far as keynote speaker. As far as some other organizational things, we're also beginning to talk and prepare just, as an organization or as individual groups for the slopes and the fun that happens after DNN Summit. So if you are coming and you want to go skiing, you want to go snow tubing and all the things that we do, and you don't want a whole room by yourself, there are plenty of people who are getting group cabins and putting 8 to 12 people in those cabins. So connect to the community and ask questions. I bet we can find you a room if you need it. And I think that's a good intro for now.
Got it. There's one point about the event that I would like to to ask. Can you do a bit of a rundown of the full day training? Because differently from the past events, there are more training options at this point and things were broken down. So again, if you want to dive a little bit deeper into the full day training.
Real quick,
So,
you might also mention where the event is.
So DNN Summit this year is in Denver, Colorado, and it's been there for 2 years in a row. And I personally hadn't been to Denver before, and I feel very at home now coming in there and being at DNN Summit again in Denver. And that skiing and snow time is another several miles up. Then that's Winter Park, that's just above Denver. So that's our location for fun. Myself as an organizer, I'm tasked with the training sessions and really the first day of the conference. The conference is 3 days. Day number 1 is training sessions and some special events. Day 2 is really the beginning of the conference. The keynote starts off on day number 2. And then day number 3 is the second day of sessions and then kind of closes and wraps up, and then there's after party. Day 4 and 5 are part of the conference. They're really the fun that happens afterwards because we're up there. By the time we reach day number 4, we are going up to the slopes and doing those activities. But the first day is the main day that I focus on, and it's the one that I'm in charge of kind of organizing. And as Adderson mentioned, we've done some things a little bit differently. We always look at the feedback and the responses of what happened in training sessions every year. This is the 4th or 5th DNN conference where I've been involved with training and helping organize those. So we take notes and we improve every year. But this year we've done something a little bit different with the training sessions and how we break them out. And we have some new offerings. So if you have been to some of the previous ones before, there might be something new for you here. To begin with, and I'll probably talk more about it in a moment, there is DNN administrator training. That is one of the core training sessions that is always there. Training sessions are from 9 to 5, and they include lunch in the middle. And the DNN administrator training is the main one where you can send anyone who has the task of being a DNN administrator to learn left to right everything in the system and get more in depth with things that maybe you're already tasked with doing and learning how to do those things better, more efficiently. We have skin or theme development training. That is the kind of a perennial course that is really all about building themes and using the best methods to make efficient themes, to make themes that are going to read well with things like Google Page Speed and use and utilize the resources that are built into DNN in the proper ways, especially in DNN 8 and 9. But then what is normally the next most popular class is module development training. That has been broken out into 2 different classes. So we have Introduction to Module Development, and we have Advanced Module Development. Every year, the breakout of the 20 to 30 people who are in that class, inevitably half of them say, it was fantastic, it went too fast. The other half say, oh, it was fantastic, I wish we had gone more in depth and gone faster. So we've split into 2 different groups so that the Introduction to Training is being done by Will Stroll this year. And then we have the Advanced DNN Module Development Training that is being done by Scott Wilkinson. So Scott has done the course the last couple of years in a row, and he's kind of diverged or split his topics so that it can be covered into 2 different courses. So that's a really new offering that I'm excited to see how that works out. But then we have a 5th training course that is also a brand new offering this year, and it is an Evoke-focused training course. That one's going to be a bit of a mixture. It's going to be not really an introduction to Evoke itself, but it certainly will be an administration training and introduction. But then it will also be an introduction to liquid content, and very specifically teaching people how to get more out of liquid content. For that portion of it, many people aren't as experienced in it, and it will be a full introduction and walkthrough to working examples in liquid content. So that Evoke-based training session is another new offering that we're excited to see. see how things go and see how people are looking forward to that.
Awesome, great. So I wanted really to start with an overview so you can have a good understanding of what to expect from the entire event. Now let's Chris talk a little bit here. So Chris, let's start with your intro. I mean, tell us, what you do, who you are for those few that don't know already. By all means, go for it.
All right, yeah, my name's Chris Hammond. I have been part of the DNN community for all time, pretty much, since it got started. So I filled a number of different roles in the community. Most people know me for my training tutorial videos and for my module development templates or Visual Studio extensions for DNN development. I still do DNN for fun and some consulting work, but my day job is I run the product team for a SaaS software provider for the fitness industry. So we're still .NET based, but it's not DNN platform. But for me, DNN is a hobby and a love and just something I've done for a long time and still enjoy doing. Try to get out to as many events as I can. So I'm looking forward to being back for my third year at DNN Summit.
There is this book author, you guys may be familiar with him or not. His name is Seth Godin. And he has this saying that, tribes and communities, he used to say that people like us do things like this, and again, I guess this is what you are talking about, Chris, is, we are part of this community, we like the community, we love the community, and that's a lot, even though sometimes we go out there and may do some other stuff, but we are always, close by, and because of, the relationships, the love that we have for the community.
Absolutely. And I'd like to correct Ryan, because he said the fun days are days 4 and 5, but the whole thing's fun. I mean, there's the entire summit is fun, and again, as Adderson said, that a lot of this is about the people and the friends and getting back together with everyone and having drinks and having discussions and having arguments and making up, and then going out and snowboarding and getting pictures of Will Stroll falling down on his snowboard and having fun up there at Winter Park. So
hold these stories.
I agree. That's a really good point.
Hold all these stories for now. We're going to get to these stories in a second. Okay, so Chris, I just want to dive now a little bit deep into your 3 sessions.
Sure.
You see, here, when I saw your 3 sessions, I said, you know what? If I would go to all 3 sessions, I would now be 1, host my sites on Azure, 2, having Cloudflare in front of my websites, and 3, having Let's Encrypt as the SSL certificate for my websites, So I think that your sessions, they complement each other quite well,
Yeah, I think so. I tried to come up with some topics this year that are outside of what I would normally deliver, which would normally be something around my module development templates or the extension templates, and really kind of do some things that I hope people find useful from just a site maintenance perspective, hosting, securing the sites, and then securing them either with Encrypt, with SSL, or with a CDN and a kind of security service that Cloudflare provides. So starting off with Windows Azure, I've just personally kind of moved most of, not all of my hosting into Azure over the past year. And really it was more just because I just kind of wanted to make myself do it and learn it and understand what all it took to get things up and running in DNN. And I had some struggles, or in Azure, and get DNN running there. I had some struggles up front, but once you get past those, once I was able to get past those, I think it's actually really easy and pretty straightforward to use Azure for your hosting. And there's a lot of benefits with what Microsoft provides. If you're a partner, you can get great benefits there as well. If you want to sign up for the partner program, if you want to sign up for the BizSpark program, there's a lot of different opportunities that Microsoft provides. So it can be very cost effective. And then just kind of the monitoring, the alerts, the interface you get into the platform is exceptional, and it's constantly changing. So that first session, and actually, I'm not sure, Ryan, is the schedule? I don't think the schedule's actually out in terms of what times the sessions are yet.
That's something that I actually is on my plate, and as soon as I receive it, I will be posting so that we have the days, times, and rooms. But at the moment, all we have is all the information for the specific sessions and speakers.
Yeah, so I'm going to go just kind of in order as they are on the site right now. First one being the Azure install. Basically, walk you through how to set things up in Azure, get the site in Azure, and get it running, and then kind of some of the things you can do from there. If I get time, we'll talk about the upgrade process. That can be a whole other topic and session in terms of length.
Let me ask you a question here, Chris. As a site owner, as a DNN site owner, should I be going and host my site on a traditional hosting provider, or should I be going towards Azure?
I think it really just depends on what you're looking for and what your budget is and what resources you have available.
See, I was looking for that. It depends, because then I had my segue question. It depends on what? It depends on, you mentioned budget. Is it, so are you saying that Azure is cheaper or more expensive? What do you mean there?
To be honest, with the resources that I'm leveraging in Azure today, I'm going to spend about $250 a month. But for those of you who don't know me, I have a domain hoarding problem. So I have a lot of domains. I have a lot of DNN portals. I couldn't even tell you right now. I guess I'll figure that out before the session in February, how many websites I have running in Azure. I would guess there's 15 to 20, but even with that, there's probably 30 to 40 domains running on those. So in terms of budget, it doesn't have to be expensive. I think that if you want to scale up, if your traffic, if your resources, your database size is intensive, it can be costly, but it doesn't have to be. Some of the things that I've learned when you utilize SQL pooling in Azure, it can be a lot more cost effective because you can get more resources that spread out across databases as opposed to individual databases with larger amounts of resources. That can be very costly. So pooling helps. And a lot of my sites that I'm running are just small hobby sites. I've got a blog on collecting Jack Daniels. I've got websites for all my cars. I've got all sorts of stuff, and there's some business stuff there as well. So
most of mine the cars website often.
Yeah, most of my sites are fairly small in terms of traffic, but for me, even at $250 a month, it's extremely effective because it's selfishly it's a skill. The more I know, the more I can do, the better I am with it, the more resources I've got available to me to help customers and through consulting and presenting and blogging and videos and all that. So if you are not technical, Azure doesn't have to be complex, but it can be daunting just to try to figure out where things are. And hopefully my session will help those folks that are not technical to be able to leverage Azure if they want to. If you're not technical at all, you don't want to deal with hosting, then that's where I'd look at a managed or an applied eye from a hosting partner perspective. Someone that knows how to keep things up and running and working well. Some of the cool things with Azure, the database backups are automatic. You could do automatic. You've got, I think, even with the lower tier, you've got 7 days you can roll back and all sorts of things you can do. So,
got it. So I think that you mentioned a good point there. Are you a bit more technical? Give it a try, see how it goes. But if not, maybe you want to stick with the more traditional host, at least at this point in time, I think that's a good way to sort it out. Ryan, let me jump to you in your sessions now, just a little bit. Why the passion for XMod Pro? Why? Tell me, explain us, where does that come from?
So Chris made a good mention to describe that one of the things you do is you get together with people in the community and you network and you talk about things you love and you talk about things that you're passionate about or cranky about, and you kind of get a bigger picture. And that's one of the ones that I enjoy doing. There are several different modules that can be used for rapid development inside of DNN. So that as an introductory level .NET developer or a traditional HTML and older classic ASP or just a developer who's not diving into .NET, you can custom build anything you possibly want to build with several different modules. DNN Sharp has some, Mandeep's has some. You can do things with just straight forms and lists. We've talked about having a session about this at SoFri just to describe all the different ways you can do the same thing with multiple different tools. For me, I've tried them all and I've looked at them all, and even some of the newer ones that the people are very passionate about right now, like Too Sexy Content. XMod Pro is hands down the absolute best one to work with, and I will be glad to challenge you and describe that to any person that I meet at the conference and tell you why I'm so excited and passionate about it. For me, there is a clear, easy way to work with standard database structure to set up things so that you custom build solutions and build them quickly. And then when you're done with it, it works well in DNN, and it is in a traditional normalized database structure. And from there, you can do pretty much anything. As a company, my company builds pretty much everything that we do custom solutions where we're using DNN. We say that we are building with DNN as our application development platform. And on top of that, we use XMod Pro, and that allows us to build any custom solution for any person that we need to. So one of my first sessions that we're talking about here is an introduction to development with XMod Pro. This is a long form version of a session that was done as a 5-minute Ignite back at DNN World. Was done at the Southern Fried DNN, which was our conference back in 2013 here in the Charlotte area. So this is an updated version of that, which we'll run through and give people a clear idea of how to work with inside of XMod Pro, all the different moving parts and how you combine them together. And then we'll finish with some examples of systems that we've built within XMod Pro.
Okay, the same type of, I guess that's debate, argument, or questioning that goes around DNN platform as to how we modernize, how we keep up with the latest and greatest. My question about XMod Pro is, as it is a very, I would say old, I would say long-running product. My question is more of, is it keeping up with the times? And here's why the question. First of all, I want to mention that there is a misleading piece of information in the DNN store that if you go to a module page or a theme page, there are some dates there, 2 dates. And if I go to the XMod Pro page, the date that shows up is 2016 that it was updated. However, if I go to the vendors list, it shows 2018. So I can see that newer updates are getting done. But again, is it keeping up with the times of technology in general? How do you address that?
Some good bullet points there as takeaways. Yes, we work with clients on a range of DNN versions. And when we have hundreds of clients, and some of them are on DNN 4 because they need to be on DNN 4 based on their server that they have internal and the settings that are there. That's the top they're going is 4.9.5, I think 4.9.8. They on 4, and then others on, I don't think we have any 5 anymore, 6, 7, 8, and 9. We can install XMod Pro with the appropriate version and use the exact same code and the exact same things we've built on DNN 4 all the way up to DNN 9 without having to think about it. That is a major thing that nobody else has when they are looking at being able to run across multiple different DNN systems. But yes, as far as XMod Pro, one of the things is that I don't want to say that it's plateaued, but it certainly has reached the full featured flexibility of having been a custom module development tool in the system for more than 10 years. And it has so many features that are built into it that we don't need new features. We can do everything we need to do. So there are fewer updates on an ongoing basis because it's been so long running. There are new features added and new elements. One of the newer updates was some things changed in DLLs and things that are available between DNN 9.0 and 1 versus 9.2. So there was a recent update in 2018 to help do some file upload changes for DNN 9.2. So there are updates happening, and I know that with most modules, everyone is looking forward to what's happening with the next steps as we're going to .NET Core, or we're going to different non-form-based module setup. Everyone is watching and waiting for what's happening next. And Kelly Ford with DNN Dev and XMod Pro is in the same setup. He's prepared with some things that I get to see occasionally for some previews or some things. So I know he's working on what's ahead. His love right now is obviously with prompt, and he's doing a lot of work within that sphere. But he's prepared that when the direction is kind of set and others are moving forward, he's ready to do the same with XMod Pro. So my company and my plans are that I'm not really concerned about where we are or what's coming next, because I know XMod Pro will be ready for it.
That's what I call passion. I think that you are even more passionate about XMod Pro than Kelly himself, But we come back to that in a second.
No, I would agree with that. Yeah. I'm a fanatic. I would agree with that. Yeah.
Chris. Yep. Let's talk a little bit about stories here. First of all, is that I'm showing off. I know that you have one as well, Chris.
Yes, I do.
I'm showing off my open force, .NET Nuke open force 2007. I know that you have one, and every episode I have a new shirt that I'll be wearing. I have a pile of shirts. Also, I want to, if I may say myself, I want to complement my design skills. As you can see, a very discreet 2019 there. If you look closely, you can see that it's just a piece of paper that I put there. So again, you can hire me if you need a design.
You don't have to look closely.
What is that?
You don't have to look closely. You can see it from here.
Okay. So, stories. It is also what DNN Summit is about. It's about experiences. It's about, interactions. It's about connections. It's about the human connection as well. So, I asked my guests to see if they can come up and remember maybe something funny, something awkward, something emotional, something, whatever it is that is a story that they keep telling and that they can tell openly. I know that there might be stories that cannot be told, on the open, but I'm going to start with you, Chris. Anything comes to mind? And I'm not only talking about DNN Summit, because with that name, this is the 3rd edition of DNN Summit, but we had DNN Con before that, and even Open Force before that, all kinds of events.
Day of DNN.
Day of DNN, yes.
DNN World.
Anything comes to mind, Chris?
Yeah, so I'll go back to the story I kind of started with earlier, which was getting to see my good friend Will Stroll rolling around in the snow. So last year was his first attempt at snowboarding, and I had snowboarded years ago. I moved to Colorado, I don't know, about 9 years ago from St. Louis, and kind of started snowboarding and whatnot while I was out there. But after I left Colorado, I went to California and then back to Missouri, kind of set it off to the side. But the summit last year for me was the first time I'd been snowboarding, except for one time on the golf course here in St. Louis that they call a ski slope in January of last year. But so I went back out and got snowboarding to kind of get the rust off and get out. And Will Stroll was out there trying it for his first time, I believe, at all. Had never been, and he's not a big snow guy. He hates cold. That's why he's staying in the Bay Area. He doesn't like cold. But getting to see him out there and learning it and really tumbling, falling, getting back up, and doing it again was very cool to see. And I'm hopeful. I actually haven't even asked him. I'm hopeful that he's going again this year, and I know he'll be at the summit. But hopefully, he'll be on the slopes, and we'll get to see him advance a little bit more there. And I know I will be getting out at the local slopes here before then, just to make sure I'm ready for it this year as well.
I'm sure that you can give him a push to help him, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Good one, good one. Ryan, what's your story?
My story is from last year, actually, and it's a good example of how you connect with people that you maybe haven't met before, or you talk with online and you know their online names, and you realize who they are. There's a lot of that goes on as you connect together. And one of my favorites was that at one of the introduction welcome parties, I'm walking around and meeting folks, and many times I'm recognizing everyone that I'm talking with, and I walk up and I'm talking with someone, and it's only after a few minutes that I realize, I'm like, oh, hey, you built the e-commerce store system that we love to work with. Oh my goodness. I've got to find Dustin, my brother and our chief developer and DBA with More Creative. I said, I've got to find Dustin. When he realizes who I'm talking to here, he's going to gush over your database structure. He's going to get so excited about how well you set things up for database and store procedures. Let me find him. And so I find him, and I bring him over, and we're all talking for a little while, and nothing happens. And a few moments later, I kind of say, well, Dustin, did you realize when he introduced himself, he built this store system, and then they've been working with it. And he says, oh, right, yeah. And then like couple of minutes later, the light goes off, and he turns and he goes, oh, your database. And he just goes off. Your database is so fantastic, and the structure of this. And of course you have identities that are ID based instead of GUID based. And who would ever make IDs as GUIDs? That's ridiculous. And then he just goes on and on and on. And then they have a 10-minute database and store procedure and optimization conversation and rant session and love session about all the different modules they ever worked with. And so it's fun. It's a good example of how you spend time. And when I'm describing DNN Summit and the conferences that I go to my wife and family, they're saying, oh, well, you're having all this fun, you're relaxing. It's work. We're there working every single minute. It just so happens it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to meet and network and talk with people. And I guarantee every day that I'm there, I'm learning one new thing that I haven't known before, remembering something that's really important, and then connecting with somebody I haven't connected with before. All those things lead to great stories, and that's certainly what keeps us coming back and doing the thing with the community.
But the question remains, who's the guy? Who's the developer? Who are you talking to?
Well, we are certainly partial to and love a few different DNN store systems, and I'll mention, this is a kind of a running joke at SoFri meetings, that if anybody's interested, I've got a couple of licenses for the ASP.NET storefront that I pre-purchased a long time ago before that shut down. I've got an extra license for hotcakes that I have sitting around. We've got everything from Catalog to Smithcart to Card Viper to goodness, I'm sure I'm missing like 2 in here, but we've got a little bit of everything, and we certainly have a couple of favorites from a database standpoint.
So let me ask you this: are you running for office by any chance? Because you just
because I'm avoiding a question.
Because you just did not answer my question. That's I'm very simple. But that's okay. That's okay. I get your point. Let's not talk about
favorite database setup for favorite database setup for store systems is Smithcart, and now under their new name, I still call them all Smithcart, but those folks are fantastic.
Good that you cannot cut my mic, otherwise you would have cut my mic. Okay, good. Back to you, Chris. Let me ask you about Cloudflare. First, give me a 30 seconds here overview about what Cloudflare can do for websites.
Okay. So Cloudflare as a service has been around for about 6 years now. I think they started in 2012. Might have the dates wrong, but what they provide is different levels of service around CDN, DNS hosting, denial of service prevention, bot attacks, etc. So yeah, there's a lot around security, around and more. But that's their main focus, is providing a layer of security for your website to help prevent the bad people from taking you down and trying to do bad things with your site. I use the free service with all of my DNN and outside work and consulting work. But here at our day-to-day job, my day-to-day job, we use Cloudflare paid service for our production sites. It's really simple to set up. You just change your DNS records, or you add your website in Cloudflare. It goes and essentially copies the DNS from your existing provider. You change the name servers, and it can be up and running in a couple of minutes, really, depending on how quickly your name server propagation occurs. Provide some very, at least on the free side, some very basic metrics, just kind of some good data to be able to see in terms of traffic, visitor location, browser breakdown, country location, etc. And just out of the box, the kind of the CDN aspects are great, but then you can take it further and start to lock down. You can actually do SSL with Cloudflare without having to use Let's Encrypt as an option. So I'm using Let's Encrypt on most of my DNN sites, but I've got some other stuff that's not DNN based that doesn't even have SSL turned on, except in Cloudflare. And it really works great. You can also do your own certificates in Cloudflare, but you don't have to. So it's a free option for setting up SSL. And then from a DNN perspective, there's some other some threat mitigation rules that you can set up. You can do page redirects if you want to. The free service has a limit to the number of page rules and redirects you can do, but from a firewall rule perspective, you can do 5 firewall rules on the free service. I actually just rolled out, if any of you guys follow the DNN Connect group on Facebook, there was a discussion there. I just rolled out some firewall rules based on that discussion to try to prevent, one, fake registrations from occurring. But for me, more so with most of my blogs, it's just the spam I get from feedback forms. Even with CAPTCHAs enabled, I get a lot of Ray-Ban and Oakley emails trying to sell me cheap Oakleys, which they know I have an Oakley problem, but I also have a problem where I'm not going to go buy fake Oakleys. So Cloudflare allows you to do a lot with little technical understanding and little cost. So.
From a cache, because one of the benefits is the caching aspect, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, have you noticed in my contact with Cloudflare has been about a year ago. So I remember that we had some problems with caching, that sometimes we had to invalidate cache because things didn't refresh that well. I mean, have you experienced anything like that?
I haven't. Now, most of my content is blog type content, and it has not run into caching issues. I've never, from my DNN perspective, never had a caching issue once with Cloudflare. With our SaaS software, we have had that in the past, where if we update a logo for one of our thousands of customers, maybe perhaps that logo doesn't show up right away. So we have some cache busting functionality that we built into that. But overall, to me, that's a minor issue to address, at least in most worlds. If we're doing stock tracking or financial aspects of something that was a little more restrictive, I think it might be more of a concern. But for most users, I would say it's going to be a problem that's few and far between.
I'm gonna jump from Cloudflare to Let's Encrypt. First, let me tell my story about Let's Encrypt. I came across Let's Encrypt about a month ago, and it changed my life. I mean, it's such a no-brainer it's apparently things are better suited for Linux environments. However, there are things for the Windows environment as well, which worked flawlessly. So I'm very glad that I came across as well, and that have you talking about that. So what has been your experience with Let's Encrypt?
Yeah, so Let's Encrypt is essentially an SSL certification service that you can get. It gives you a free SSL cert that you can install on your website. Now, the catch with Let's Encrypt is it's like a 90-day cert. So if you go to GoDaddy or Symantec or you purchase a certificate from somewhere, you're typically buying a year, 2, 3, 4, 5-year type certificate. Let's Encrypt, because it's free, basically has I think it's a 90-day certificate that after 90 days it goes away. So you can go request your certificate, install it on your site, but 90 days you're going to have to go get a new one or refresh it and get an update. With Azure, and what I'll cover in my session is there are ways. There's I don't even know what they're called in Azure. It's like kind of a plugin, kind of an add-on extension that you can set up in Azure that will go out and do that automatically for you. So I have it set up on, I'm going to guess 10 of my sites that actually it might be more than that because I just can't keep track. It goes out and automatically renews the SSL certificate with Let's Encrypt, sets it up. There's absolutely nothing for me to do, for me to touch. And now that I'm talking through this, it used to send me an email to tell you, hey, your certificate's about to expire. But it automatically renews it and keeps it going. I haven't received those emails in a while, so I'm gonna have to try to track that down. But all my sites, at least the ones I care about, are SSL enabled now, and that's important from a SEO perspective, right? So Google will penalize you if your site isn't HTTPS, and especially if you got a login or registration form, they will actually flag you and warn visitors that it's not SSL enabled. So Let's Encrypt allows you to do that with no cost. Now, I guess there is some cost because I'm running it in Azure, but the minimal, I mean, I'll get that information before the session in February. I would be surprised if I've spent more than $5 on Let's Encrypt in the past 6 months, 7 months for that service running on Azure.
I mean, I don't know how they do that for free. We have that personally, and we have that for clients as well, running on their Windows servers, not Azure, but on Windows. What you can have is you can have a little job there, a task that can do the renewing automatically. We can go out there, check again very effectively, and we see big players. I'm not sure if it's Shopify or Wix, but one of those platforms, if you check their HTTPS certificate, you're gonna see that they are using Let's Encrypt. Yeah. How this? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to chime in and say one of my favorite parts about that is that it's created a way to have automated renewal of SSL certs. And when we have clients with 1 and 2 or 4-year SSL certs, we forget that they're about to expire. And so we find out the day after they expire, in bad cases. The automated part of Let's Encrypt is fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you can. So setting up in Azure can be a little difficult because you have to try to track down a number of different kind of keys and things that you have to do to set it up. But once the session that I'm going to be doing will kind of walk you through that and hopefully give you a good base for getting it set up with minimal pain on your end for your DNN and other sites.
Yeah, I'm not doing tips anymore, but I need to put one out there for Let's Encrypt within the Windows Server environment. I mean, it's so simple and yeah. Okay, let's move on here. Let's get to the final segment here, and I'm just gonna go session by session, Ryan, Chris, and just ask for the one thing on each one of the sessions here. Lots of sessions to go through. Let's I guess with you, Ryan, let's start with the DNN administration. What is the one thing that you want for the full day session for people to leave that session knowing about?
For the full day DNN administration training session, the one thing that I think you'll leave with is confidence. Being able to run through your DNN instance and knowing from left to right the things that you can manage and how to do those very well. So if you are shaky on any bit of information and knowledge about the job that you do as an administrator of a DNN website, this is the course for you.
Session now. Now a session, developing custom DNN solutions with XMod Pro. What's that? One thing.
All right, the one thing that you'll leave with from the XMod Pro custom solutions session is a good understanding of how to put together the parts and pieces of XMod Pro functionality to build anything under the sun. As a development company, we build everything with XMod Pro, and there's really nothing that we can't build or create with DNN and XMod Pro.
Doing good with DNN.
A couple of DNN conferences ago, I got connected with the Kiva group, which Kiva is a micro loan charity organization where you can submit small amounts of money. And we were challenged by another DNN community member to participate in Kiva. And I have seen that same $25 go around and around and around, and it's changing lives. And that's what we're going to talk about, doing good with DNN. We're going to talk about participating in the community. We're going to talk about giving your services and your skills to help others, training to help organizations around you and your community. There's a lot of good that can be done, and I'd love to share some of the things that I've seen people do and get some people inspired.
Essential for your DNN toolbox.
We consider ourselves DNN integrators. We develop modules on occasion, but really it's out of necessity. We're not module developers, we're integrators. We work with and help train people and help them do the best they can do within their DNN instances, or we manage them on our own. Through this, we've worked on hundreds and hundreds of DNN instances, and we have a collection of our favorite modules, our favorite things that we do to any DNN instance when we first gain access to that. And we're going to run through those things. It's favorite modules that you absolutely have to install, favorite things that you need to do to your DNN instance to help with some performance and lockdown, and then a kind of review of the must-haves, essentials for your DNN toolbox.
And last but not least, a panel discussion. What's like to be a vendor in the DNN ecosystem?
So in that particular session, I've been asked to help MC and organize a panel discussion. So that's not as much my session as much as me performing the same role that I do at Southern Fried User Group meeting. I will be running the room to help encourage questions and conversation with, at the moment, 3 primary module developers who have had experience within the community, but we're going to get some more. And it's going to be a chance for you to ask questions and to really hear from them first perspective about how they've run and set up their businesses and organizations. So if you are a module developer and you wanted to know how others have done and made it, this is a good session. If you want to ask some questions too and really learn some more about the larger sphere of third-party module developers, this is a good place to be.
Perfect. Let's jump to Chris now. Chris, let's go through your 3 sessions here. So first one, securing your DNN site using Azure and Let's Encrypt for SSL.
Yep. So the one thing to get out of that session is how easy it is to get SSL set up on your site, no cost or minimal cost, and why you need it in DNN. So quick and dirty.
Awesome. Shooting a flare into the clouds using Cloudflare in front of your DNN website.
Yeah. So again, this is just going to be another kind of similar to Ryan's toolboxes. It's just another tool, another platform that you can leverage to make the sites faster, make them more secure, and hopefully really kind of demonstrate that. I wish I could get paid by Cloudflare for this, but it's really just how you can leverage it, and it's another tool that you should have in your toolbox to make the site faster.
And last one is as a kind of a title baiting. I mean, it's a kind of a, installing DNN on Azure, on Windows Azure is too hard. You shouldn't do it.
Exactly. You shouldn't until you come to my session. So, yeah. So it is title baiting, and it's a bait and switch to swap it out. I'm going to show you why it's not hard, and how to do it. And back to kind of some of the question from earlier when we were talking about the session. We were talking about why you would do Azure over another host, and the question or the answer came back to, well, if you're more technical, go with Azure. I would push back and say, if you want to be more technical, if you want to learn it, it's from a toolbox perspective for yourself or for your career, being able to do this is great. And if it's Azure, if it's AWS, wherever it is, learning more and getting more technical will never hurt you in your career going forward.
Awesome, awesome. Anything before we say our goodbyes? Anything else that you guys may want to add?
I'll add that if you are paying attention to the DNN Summit website and checking things out over the next week or two here before Christmas, I'll have some announcements and blog posts to go out talking about some of the things that we have been doing at DNN Summits for the last few. One of them is, I'm trying to catch the light on it right for the microphone or for the camera here. DNN Summit Awards. We have some challenge coins and awards that are given out for the day of training. And then we've been proud to help sponsor and promote others in the community with our DNN awards that we give out at the end of closing ceremonies for, for the folks who've traveled to the farthest, both nationally and internationally, to arrive to DNN Summit, but then also for the actual DNN instances themselves. So we have kind of gold awards for folks that have the most portals, the most users, and one for classic DNN for the active, oldest running DNN website. Looking at Chris if he has a contender there to describe.
I think I might have shut that thing down finally, but I don't know. It might actually still be out there.
But so we have awards that we'll be giving away, and we'll talk about those a little bit in the next couple of weeks. But then geeks and friends who know me well know that I love to tinker and do some electronics work. And again, possibly the last year that I'm going to do them. I'm going to do something different in the future, but we will have a DNN lightsaber to give away. And if you've seen these before, these are items where I am doing etching work on metal, engraving, and a lot of custom electronics works to produce customized lightsabers as mashups. So these are DNN Summit sabers, and I'll have one to give away here this year.
You are not allowed to stop doing it until I win one.
Good. Okay.
I have to say that I'm more of a Star Trek type of person than a Star Wars type of person. So maybe you can consider that in the future, Anyway.
Yeah, there's something there. I'm sure there's something there.
Of course, there's a communicator. I mean, you can do some communicator stuff,
Yeah,
anyway.
The lore of the lightsaber is that every Jedi makes their own, and they're highly customized. And so this is a DNN blended saber. There are some videos out there for the older ones that were done previous years, but it's something cool to see that DNN logo, even the older one with the nuke symbol etched into metal. It's pretty cool. One of the keynotes that we did a little while ago is we did a .NET saber for the keynote speaker. So that one had a purple blade, was pretty cool there. I'd have to think about what I would customize on the Star Trek.
You should do a behind the scenes
phaser, but the medical one, I would probably do something with that.
We'll figure out. But what you should definitely do is behind the scenes, how you put this together. A little video recording on how you put this together.
Those videos are out there. If
they
you
are
look back at the blogs, you can run back to 2018's, 2017's, and 2016's version of those are still posted in the DNN Summit blog. You can catch those videos. They're fun to watch, just to see the pieces and the parts and how they're all put together.
Guys, again, thank you very much. It was a very good start of the DNN Summit 2019 talks. I'm very glad that you both were here, and I'll be running this through another 5 sessions, so there will be a lot more guests. That's my Brazilian accent. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for being here. It was a pleasure, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Thank
you, Addison. Look forward to seeing everyone at the DNN Summit.